Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending today's webcast, Be the MVP with QVP Connection from Hagerman. Our presenter today is Matt Lane. He's the Director of Consulting Services with Hagerman & Company. Before we get started, I'll let you know that you're in listening only mode. If you have questions during the presentation, you may type them into the question panel on the right-hand side of your screen. They'll be addressed by Matt at the end of the presentation. As we close down the session today, you'll be prompted to fill out a survey, and we ask that you take a couple moments to fill that out. Additionally, all registrants will receive a follow-up email containing a link for the recording of this presentation. With that, I'll hand things over to Matt.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you to everyone for joining us here this morning or this afternoon, depending upon your time zone. We're going to have a webinar here. Probably this webinar will be a bit shorter than at least a lot of others that I do. We should be, I think, probably looking at about 30 minutes or so for the presentation and demonstration. And as Ashley mentioned, using the question panel and GoToWebinar, we can address any questions at the end. And I'll be starting off with a PowerPoint, and then we can look at the QVP Connection software in action as well. Yeah, so our agenda, I just got a one-slide overview of Hagerman & Company, and then our other connection products to help understand where the QVP Connection fits into our product line. And then from there, we'll just get into the QVP Connection software itself. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, although probably most of you are, our company has been around for 33 years now, since 1984, and we've been under constant ownership and management since that time. So we've been a very stable organization in terms of ownership, management, long-term employees, that kind of thing. We've gradually grown over the years. You can see we have offices in all of the states indicated, and we actually cover the entire United States with our services and software as well as internationally. QVP Connection fits into our data management product line in that it generally works in conjunction with Autodesk Vault and Blue Cello Meridian. And we've been heavily involved in data management for 22 years now. And during that time, we've done over 1,200 successful customer projects. We've got a lot of experience, and QVP is something we developed out of that experience and seeing customer needs that were out there in the marketplace. In terms of our total product line, of course, QVP Connection is our search view print tool, and it's probably our most popular product that we have. We also have, and have had for quite a few years, our AutoPlot Connection software for batch printing, plotting, and publishing, which will work in conjunction with QVP Connection. Some newer products that we have that work with Autodesk Vault specifically, we have our Lifecycle Connection product for generating email notifications in conjunction with Autodesk Vault Lifecycle Workflows, which is a facility that's widely used by all Vault users. We also offer our Project Connection software, which is mainly targeted towards plant engineering, process industries, and like utilities, steel mills, chemical plants, large food processing plants who do large engineering projects, retrofitting or expanding their plants, help them manage their project drawings and keep them separated from their as-built or masters. Our latest one, and again is one of very general use and need, is our Backup Connection, which does monitoring and reporting on the status of our customers' Vault backups. Obviously, you're running a system like Autodesk Vault or any other IT system, there's nothing more important than having good backups. And with Backup Connection, it will keep all the correct people in the organization up to date as to whether backups are running properly or if there is an issue that they might need to address. So that's kind of our connection product line overall. Our QVP Connection software I'll just start with a graphic. QVP Connection presents users, whether they're using QVP in conjunction with Autodesk Vault, in conjunction with Blue Cello Meridian, in conjunction with another document management system, just in conjunction with Windows Explorer, also integrated into other company systems to pull information. You get a user interface to make it very easy to search and retrieve files. You can see a couple different interfaces where here you can specify and configure what are the properties that your users would need to search on. In this case, it's simpler, just part number and document type. Here is one more in a plant engineering environment where plant maintenance people in, for instance, a steel mill can search by the mill, the line, the drawing discipline, the drawing type, equipment numbers, vendors, and any combination of those properties. And again, we'll see this in action. We'll make more sense out of things. And then when you get your search results, QVP allows you to configure your column headings so people get pertinent information on each file before they go ahead and open it into the viewer for viewing. So that's a quick first look at the QVP Connection Interface. And then, as I mentioned, we've got customers using it in conjunction with Autodesk Vault, Blue Cello Meridian, other data management systems. It can also be used as a search UI with Windows Explorer. Although with Windows Explorer, because there's no database back into it like Vault or Meridian, it's just searching based on file names. But it does make it much easier for users to find files wherever they might be in your folder hierarchy. Just type in a file name and it quickly finds it. We also have interfaced it so in the results, information could be pulled and displayed, for instance, on an ERP system. So if your file names match your part numbers, here's my file name results, and then based on the part number, also pull and display information from a company ERP system. So that's one of the big reasons that people might use QVP as opposed to one of the software tools that comes with Vault or Meridian, for instance. Also, another big use of QVP is multiple systems simultaneously. In some cases, we've had customers who have implemented Autodesk Vault, and some of their files are in Vault, but some of them are still in Windows folders. QVP can be configured to search both places and then give priority results from one of those locations. So first search for the file in Autodesk Vault, doesn't find it there, go search the Windows folders. Now getting into the specifics of other options that people have, since most of our QVP customers either use it in conjunction with the Blue Cello Meridian software that we offer and Autodesk Vault, I want to talk a bit about what are the other options there. For instance, Blue Cello also has their Power Desktop and Power Web clients, which are very powerful, very nice, full function clients, generally designed for people who create and edit documents or participate in workflows. Of course, a user's security can be dialed down, so they only have search, view, print through the Power Web or Power Desktop. But that may be a bit of, using one of those clients may be a bit of overkill and would be more expensive than using Blue Cello's Explorer client, which is another option to consider along with QVP. If you are a Meridian user, the Explorer is Blue Cello's search, view, print client that is available. Then on the Autodesk side, similarly, a customer could use their Vault Workgroup Pro or Office clients for doing search view print. But again, that might be more money or more complexity than a user might want. Also with Vault Professional, Autodesk has the Vault Web Client. And the Vault Web Client is available free and unlimited with Vault Professional. So that's very nice that it's inexpensive, but it does not offer any forms-based searching. You can browse folders to find files. You can easily search on a single search parameter, but if you need to search on multiple properties or multiple values associated with particular properties and then control whether you're doing a contain search or a starts with search, each one of those searches has to be built manually, which is time consuming, and if somebody is using it in sales, customer service, purchasing out in the plant, that's very cumbersome. And we'll take a look at that here in a bit. So then, looking at Autodesk Vault, this would be in the Vault Professional Workgroup or Office Client, the search form there. If we take a look at that, I got a lot of stuff open here. Yeah, so here's a particular Vault I have, and you can see in Vault I can browse through folders. If I want to do an advanced search, I can hit the down arrows, and this panel is configurable so that I can display whatever properties I want to and then search on any of them. So if I just DWG search, we get that. If I go to state, I could then say release and add that to the search so that I can filter that down. Then when I have a file I want, I can select it, and then when I'm done searching, I can make that panel go away. So actually pretty nice searching in the Vault desktop client, although users do need to have a Vault desktop client to do that. The Vault web client, which is what you see here pictured, if we take a look at it in action, flip over to it. So this is the Vault web client, and I'm actually looking at the same Vault I just had up earlier. I do have the ability to browse files and folders, go to a particular file, and then if I hit download, it will actually open it up into the viewer. And I can do a search. For instance, if I say steel, that will actually search across every property on every file in the Vault and find any files where steel is in any of the properties. That's quick and easy, not very refined. Whereas, and this is the trouble I was pointing to with Vault, is if I want to do a multi-property search, I need to go into the advanced find and say I want to search on my category, and I want to say that it equals base, and then I want to search on my file name and say that it, actually I can't do a starts with, I'll say it contains DWG, and then I'll say my state equals released. Not sure if I'll get anything here, but you can see it is, if you think of somebody who's a casual user, which is typically your search view print user, that's pretty cumbersome, and they've got to wade through this whole list of properties to figure out what they want to search on. So for a lot of people, the Vault web client is not a particularly functional thing for them. Whereas now if we go to QVP, which I've also got open here, again, the same Vault, I've got my QVP connection for this Vault pre-configured to search on category name, title, description, state, and file name. And you can see I've got these configured so I don't have to type in values. I can just select them. And then with my search results, I've got QVP configured to display these file properties in my search results. And that's all configurable. And in fact, if I go look at that setup in the QVP connection setup, you can see that I've got a connection called Autodesk Vault Demo. And then for that, I've got overall parameters, and I've got it set to connect to a specific vault. And then I can specify my search criteria. And then with the up and down arrows, I can control the order that they list here. So if you look at category name, title, description, state, file name, that is the order that they're displayed here. And if I want that rearranged here on the side, I can just use my up and down arrows to control that. Also, for each value that I'm searching on, I can say whether I'm searching on unique values, which would be like pulled from a drop-down list, a text box to type in. My search condition, I can say contains, does not contain, equals. I generally use contains or equals. And you can set values to be required. So then for each one of these, I can set my parameters, and then I can always add a new search criteria and pick any property I also want to search on, and then it would be displayed on the side here. And then my return fields are really configured the same way. It's always going to show the file name, and then I've got it configured to display the state, the revision, and the category. That's one nice thing about QVP is that you can configure a connection and user interface in about 5 minutes. Then once a connection is available, it is selectable here. And what I've got here is I've got 3 different connections connecting to 3 different vaults for 3 different applications. However, a nice feature of QVP is you could have multiple connections connected to the same Meridian or Vault database. Because, for instance, someone in maintenance might search based on different parameters or care about different results columns than someone in sales or purchasing. So you could have connections called maintenance, sales, and purchasing that's already pre-designed and pre-configured for what users in those groups would be most likely to select on, to search, to make it as easy as possible for them. So then here I'm going to do my file names as a contains search. So I'm just going to put a dot in here. So it should return about every file. And actually I get 47 pages of results. And you can see that down here. And then I could just start refining that in. A lot of times customers with huge vaults, they run the first search, they get way too many results, just start refining it in. So I could say category is base, and this will pull the categories or document types right from Meridian or Vault. Search again. I'm bringing it down. That didn't bring it down a whole lot. I could make it DWG instead. And then I could say state is released. Actually, nothing there. So I'll obsolete that. Maybe say IDW. Let's go to engineering. So you can see how quickly you can refine your search parameters. Now I'll say work in progress. So very quickly, maybe say IPT. So very quickly you can move through and refine your search parameters and then sort on any of those. Let me go ahead and clear that. I'm going to say, I'll just say 300. So that'll give me all my files that contain 300. Let me go to 300-010 and search. So now I get my search results. And then to view a file, just click on the little glyph here. And this is 300-010.idw. If I go ahead and say and view it, for those of you who are familiar with Autodesk Vault, you know that by default, Vault will publish DWF files on check-in for all of your CAD files, and QVP will pick that up. It saw that there was an up-to-date DWF for that CAD file, so for efficiency purposes, QVP will just go ahead and open up the DWF for viewing. And the way QVP works is that when you select a file to view or open, it opens it into an associated viewing application installed on the user's desktop. And that's something very important to note. So, depending upon the file types that are in your Meridian or Vault system or in Windows Explorer or other system you're pulling from, you would want to have appropriate viewers installed, such as Autodesk Design Review, Inventor View, Autodesk DWG TrueView, SolidWorks eDrawings Viewer, Adobe Reader, and so on. Also, let's clear this, and I'm going to say DWG. And let's go back to IDW. There, that's what I wanted to find. And notice these files have what is really kind of a warning indicator, different than the viewing glasses. That's because my QVP is configured to prevent people from inadvertently viewing or printing or building off of a file that's not released. So you get that indicator right in your search results, and then if you do open it for viewing, it will ask you, do you want to view the current version, which would in this case be a work in process version, or do you want to view the last released version? And QVP actually has a bit more control over this than the Vault web client does. And you can also control it so that this would be locked down so people wouldn't be able to get to a file at all if it was under revision. So hopefully that gives a good overview of QVP in action. It's designed to be very simple, so it doesn't really take that long to demonstrate. So again, the big things are it's all configurable, multiple connections for different departments if desired, and then all controlled from a server. We do have some customers that have 600, for instance, viewing computers throughout their facility. The nice thing about QVP is, from a support standpoint, the configuration is all centrally controlled. So IT doesn't have 600 users out there who can be changing things any way they want and then running into resulting issues. So just kind of summarizing the advantages of QVP connection. We believe it's the easiest to use search interface on the market. It is, as I just mentioned, a server-based configuration. The setup and configuration, I mean, you can probably do it in 15 minutes, very low cost. Also, because of the way QVP is licensed, it's not pulling from a concurrent license pool, and then you therefore have to worry about users logging out when they're inactive in order to free up a concurrent license. QVP is sold on a per computer basis, which could be expensive, but we have QVP priced at a very low amount per computer, especially if you have a lot of computers. So it keeps the cost down, and then you don't have to worry about people not logging out and keeping things tied up. Also, as I mentioned, QVP can pull from multiple data management systems or other sources simultaneously. So from an end user perspective, they don't need to know what system, or in Windows instead, where a particular file lives. They can just use QVP as a single portal to search, retrieve, and view files from wherever they might happen to be. And then, as I mentioned, data can be pulled at least for display purposes, from other in-house systems. And then if you do have a need for automated printing, plotting, and publishing, QVP can directly interface with AutoPlot. So you could take the files in your search results and hit plot, and then it would batch, print, plot, or publish them. And probably don't need to say a lot here, just kind of what we've seen by experience, the parameters that different people in different industries might search on. And then that concludes my presentation here. So at this point, if we have any, we can open it up for questions. Let me expand my question panel. It looks like we have one question so far. And I hit on this a little bit before, is the configuration per machine or deployable? As I mentioned, it is a server-based configuration, but you can have multiple different configurations available for different users in different departments, or the same user might use a different set of search parameters, just depending on what they were looking for. So you could also have a different search UI for different types of documents. Now the question is, does each QVP require its own Meridian license? And I'll also expand that question and say, or Vault license, and the answer is no. It's its own separate solution as far from a licensing standpoint. Other questions? And while we're waiting on those to see if any other questions come in, Ashley, do you want to go ahead and pass on or repeat any wrap-up information?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Matt. If you think of additional questions that you have for Matt, you can simply reply to that, go to webinar email, and we can get those to him to answer your questions. Also, just a reminder about the survey at the end. It will just automatically pop up as we close down today. And looks like there might be one more question that popped in.
Yeah, are there any version limitations? We always check to make sure. The way QVP works, it's not very version dependent in terms of Meridian or Vault. However, we always do test and validate that it will work with the new version. So if somebody has QVP with Meridian or Vault, they would definitely want to contact us and work with us before they upgraded to make sure everything was still going to stay compatible. And we are compatible with the latest versions of both products. And that's all the questions I see. As Ashley mentioned, if you think of others, you can contact us. But I believe that's all I have on my end. So Ashley,
Yep.
if you want to wrap us up.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for attending, and thanks Matt for the presentation. Have a great day.